So we will be having now session number 6 on psychological issues in context of cyber safety and security. So I would request Himanshi to introduce Dr. Smita so that we can go forward for the session.
Good morning, ma'am. We have Professor Smita Nilkant Deshpande with us. She has served as a professor and head of Department of Psychiatry in Center of Excellence of Mental Health in RML Hospital, New Delhi. Uh, she has led over 36 research projects in autism, schizophrenia, genetics, clinical trials, psychological aspects of mental health, disability, and rehabilitation. She is also a member of editorial board of several national and international journals with high impact factors on biological psychiatry online. She is also part of Asian Journal of Psychiatry and BMC Psychiatry. She was co-author of Tobacco Cessation Guidelines for Government of India. She was member of the subcommittee on developing ICMR Human Research Guideline for Vulnerable Groups in 2017. Ma'am is also a member of several ethics committee and ICMR, CSIR, and DST project review committees. She was member of subject expert committee of DCGI. Ma'am is also she was also co-chair in the sections on genetics of World Psychiatric Association. Along with that, ma'am has been connected with us for a lot of cyber safety initiatives and developing courses in the area of cyber safety and security. I would request Smita ma'am to begin her session. Over to you, ma'am.
Yes, thank you so much for that introduction, Himanshi. I will now share my screen.
Whenever you get a question, kindly keep posting your question in the chat box so that in between, whenever the question is relevant, ma'am will be taking up parallelly also. So at the end, we'll also have a session for discussion.
Right.
Ma'am will be closing the session by 1 p.m. So if you can just wind up.
Oh, by 1 p.m. Okay. Can you see my screen and can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So thank you very much. And today we'll begin some talk on psychological issues in the context of cyber safety and security. Please, as I said, post your questions. And if at all there is time, I'd like to answer them as well. First of all, I'd like to begin by thanking Dr. Angel and her very efficient team, including Himanshi, CIET and NCERT, who have taken up this important topic. And of course, Dr. Balhara and Ms. Akanksha, who have been my co-collaborators in developing this module. And in fact, these are Dr. Balhara's slides, which I have modified a little bit. So let's begin by trying to find out how internet use can impact our health, both our mental health as well as our physical health. Physical health can easily be corrected by proper posture and movement, etc. But it is more difficult to look at the invisible impact of internet use, which is psychological and mental. So that is very important to know and to be aware of so that you can prevent it from happening. In fact, we these days spend a very large amount of time in digital space, and for various reasons, for connecting to other people, for obtaining information. The session before me was just talking about payments. For education, in your sector, education of students has taken a leap forward because of the COVID pandemic. We access the internet for entertainment and so many other things. In fact, sometimes it becomes a preoccupation, so that we just keep, leaping onto the internet whenever we have a moment to spare. Each of these interactions, especially if they are regular, out of our control, too frequent so that they interfere in our day-to-day activities, that definitely impacts our mental well-being. So it is important as teachers and as citizens, as people, to be aware of the possible psychological consequences of cyber safety and security. We should be well prepared. So ideally to prevent, but if not prevent, then at least to be able to identify and address these consequences. So let us look at some of the general and specific psychological consequences of internet use. We will first look at the dimensions of psychological well-being in the context of cyber safety and security. We'll look at some specific adverse psychological consequences, tips and tricks to ensure healthy presence in cyberspace, red flag signs of adverse psychological consequences, identification of resources, how to seek help and get support. So how is psychological well-being impacted in digital space? It can be impacted through our own actions as well as the actions of others. And as far as the others' actions are concerned, you have had several sessions about it. And every day when we look at the news or read the papers, we find out about how people were tricked or duped, or their savings were taken away, girls were bullied, children were bullied, elders were harassed. So these are all negative experiences in cyberspace, and we ourselves may become victim of cyber crimes such as fraud, scams. Our data may be stolen. Recently, there was a report that there was a break-in into a huge database, and millions of Indians' database was available on the dark web. Our identity can be stolen so that we lose all our savings. If we also behave inappropriately, then our own behavior can also adversely impact our own well-being as well. Suppose we indulge in some illegal or inappropriate behavior or copyright infringement by stealing other people's images, papers, etc. They can have a very bad impact on our own health as well as that of our victims. We can be, or our students can be, victims of adverse effect in cyberspace, including bullying, stalking, and grooming. What is cyberbullying? Just like physical bullying, this is a very common activity, not only with children, with adolescents, and even with adults, even with senior citizens. There is repeated hostile or aggressive behavior, maybe threatening, maybe abusing, maybe belittling. This can be performed by an individual, but it can be taken up by the whole group, especially in the context of school students. And this is aimed to inflict harm or discomfort, either by pulling down the self-esteem or actually threatening with physical harm by means of electronic or digital tools. What is cyber stalking? Just like physical stalking, this is following somebody in cyberspace by using the internet or other electronic means to follow or harass an individual, maybe with some kind of sexual intent, maybe with some criminal intent. It can be an individual, a group, or an organization. What is cyber grooming? This is especially alarming in today's day when young children have access to smartphones. They can enter into internet space without realizing its dangers. Usually in cyber grooming, adults befriend a young person, an innocent person, very often girls or young children, to facilitate online sexual contact or a physical meeting with the goal of committing sexual abuse. It can be taking indecent pictures or taking indecent videos, or it can then progress to a cyber stalking or cyber bullying. Each of these activities adversely impacts our psychological well-being. Excessive time spent in cyberspace can also lead to some psychological consequences. Even if we are perfectly safe, even if we keep ourselves very safe and secure, even then, if we are stuck to the net all the time, we are lost in cyberspace all the time, there can still be some adverse psychological consequences. Let's first begin by having a small activity. Take a little, half a minute, to think of the different adverse psychological consequences that your students can experience or have already experienced because of their behavior in cyberspace or their experiences in cyberspace. Write your responses in the chat box. And once you are done writing your responses, try to read what others have written. So we'll go now to the chat box. Let me see if I can access my chat box here. Right. So we are getting a lot of, I'm very delighted to see we are getting a lot of responses. Yes, depression, loss of concentration, unable to concentrate on anything, distractedness, sleeplessness, restlessness, yes, fear, anxiety, stress, yes. These are all the kind of uh, adverse psychological consequences, and there can be physical harms as well. Children have run away, they have stolen things, they have been abused, assaulted, and raped because of their vulnerability in cyberspace. So due to excessive and problematic use of the internet in the form of a smartphone or in the form of social media or excessive gaming or even getting into pornography, which is highly addicting, there can be adverse psychological consequences. How do you make out whether the use is not normal? It is beyond the bounds of normality. It is excessive and problematic. Well, you will perceive that your student seems to have lost control over their devices. In the most inappropriate places, they will access their smartphone or they will look for an internet source and so on. Just because they are stuck to their internet devices, they neglect alternate activities. And sometimes your parents or their siblings or their friends can come and complain to you about it. In spite of being warned, in spite of losing out on their regular daily activities or maybe failing in an exam, they would still continue to use these devices excessively. In fact, things have now become so difficult that gaming disorder has been recognized as a diagnosable mental disorder by the World Health Organization. People have lost money, people have lost a lot of their possessions because of excessive gambling and gaming online. Most often and most prominently, if you are too much onto the net, if your student is too much onto the net, they are coming to the net, they would at the very least develop interpersonal problems with their parents, with their friends, with their teachers, because they are not doing their homework, they are not paying attention in class, they are always, maybe they are missing class, they are running away just to be able to access the net, and with all the others that they come in contact with. So that is the biggest harm, and maybe sometimes it is the first warning signal. Because they are stuck to the net and the net is on 24/7, there can be disturbances of sleep wakefulness cycles. Most commonly, the children stop sleeping there because the internet is so exciting and the light from the computer screen it signals wakefulness. The children will keep on accessing the net, thus losing their sleep. They lose their appetite. Of course, they lose their self-care, daily hygiene, daily activities, and routine timetable. Then because of all these negative consequences, there can be a sense of panic, a feeling of self-blame. Suppose they finally have to pay for their excessive internet use in some other way. They can become anxious, fearful, panicky, and you have all mentioned this in your chat box. Sometimes they become angry. What happened? Why did I have to go through all this? There can be self-blame, a feeling of helplessness. What can I do? How can I save myself? And feeling of vulnerability. They used to feel very safe in the internet space. Now they feel that they are no longer safe. And because of that, they blame themselves. In fact, they may finally end up with a diagnosable psychiatric disorder in the form of acute stress disorder, depression, or anxiety. and over a period of time, they may even develop PTSD. Psychologically, they can blame themselves. As I said, there is an element of self-blame. So they develop poor self-esteem. They think they are not worth anything because they have become victims, or because they have become stuck to the net. They are not worth anything. They are worthless as an individual. They have no position in society. Society has no respect for them. They have no place in society. Oddly enough, they may still have a fear of missing out. So they may still be stuck to the net so that they know what is happening. Suppose it's a victim of bullying. In a self-defeating behavior, they will keep on going back to the net to see, oh, what else have these people said about me? What other negative remarks have they passed about me? And so on, like that. So how can we save ourselves, and how can we save our children to ensure a healthy use of cyberspace? Here is the second activity. What are some of the suggestions you would like to give for children to A, become more resilient, and B, to prevent the possible negative consequences that we have just discussed in the previous sections? Beginning from simple advice about lifestyle to some self-help techniques, whatever techniques you know of. Please write your responses in the chat. And once you have finished writing your responses, read what the others have written. I will also have a look. Let me just access my chat box. Sorry, I seem to have lost my chat box.
Ma'am, I'm checking on it. People are writing a lot on this.
Okay, give me a minute. There was some background disturbance, so I tried to reduce that. So, Dr. Angel, would you mind reading a few of the responses, please?
No, ma'am, I can read out. Doesn't matter. So there are several answers. They have just said like physical activities could be done. We should restrict the screen time. There should be monitored while they are using internet. Indulge in hobbies. Letting them to play with friends, or we will play with them. Educate them about the net use with a time limit. Try to spend time with family. Awareness and inculcate with knowledge. Outdoor games, there are many people who have written that there should be encouragement towards outdoor games and screen time, and to have an optimal exposure to internet and do a monitoring. That's mostly the answers are towards that, ma'am.
Excellent. So these are very, very practical answers, and they are
One more
absolutely
point
what?
is also we need to create an environment for them to express the fears and problems to us. So
excellent.
That's also very good.
Excellent. That is absolutely the sine qua non, that teachers should be trusted by their students. And amongst all of you, each one of you, even if half a dozen students gel with you and treat you with the feeling of security, then you have won their trust. That is wonderful. Great. So all these suggestions are very practical, very doable. And actually, there are most of them are something that I will also be suggesting. Let's go ahead. So most importantly, teachers, you need to be, we ourselves as adults, as responsible adults, and you as leaders of the children that you teach, you need to be aware of the possible adverse psychological consequences, which is exactly what we are doing right now. And quite a few had a lot of knowledge about it. We need to practice cyber safe behavior ourselves. So if we practice it ourselves, we'll be in a better position to tell others what to do. We also need to be very mindful. See, people slip in these spam messages, fraud messages, most unexpectedly. and almost automatically we may click on it. So before you click on something, just take a pause. And in the same way, please teach your students as well that whenever they get an unsolicited message or they get an odd message, some years back there was this Nigerian message saying, I've lost all my money, I'm in a foreign country, please send me money, etc. They were very simple scams. They could easily make out that this is not the truth by just ringing up your friend. So, but you should know that these are the kind of spam messages, scam messages that you might get. So before you click on unknown links, before you open unknown emails and messages from people you don't know, take a pause, count till 5, and then think, maybe consult somebody and then access that message. Be mindful of your experiences in cyberspace and be cognizant of the time you spend. So reality, the real spaces around you must always take primacy. The internet, after all, is a communication, or it's a tool. It's not an end in itself. Whereas living our life in physical spaces is what is most important and most required of us. So as most of you have said, yes, we should not use cyberspace as a substitute for physical spaces. So children especially need to be active. They need to learn how to use their bodies well. So they need to get into sports, into physical exercises, in movement, in social spaces. So they need to learn how to follow a healthy daily routine. And it need not be only the health teacher or the social science teacher who teaches this. The science teacher can talk, the maths teacher can talk about a healthy daily routine. The physics teacher can talk about a healthy daily routine, because all the physical laws around us follow a rule. The same way, we can also follow a healthy daily routine by eating healthy, eating regularly, exercising regularly, developing some kind of a hobby or some activity to help us to relax our body and mind. Not just yoga, meditations, music, dance, just chatting, having some special friends, having a group with a purpose, social activity, doing some charitable work, helping others. All of these activities will give us a good feeling ourselves also. And then a regular sleep. As I said before, getting hooked onto the net can deprive you of sleep. So if you have a regular sleep routine, wakefulness cycle, then it is more difficult for you to get hooked on the net. So leading a balanced life where every activity has its own time, its own place, is one of the very good ways to achieve balance between real life and internet experiences. Other simple tricks and treats are reducing the number of applications on your smartphones only to the essential ones. There's no point in having a whole lot of applications which you never access. You're much more likely to be exposed in cyberspace and much more likely to become a victim. You can turn off non-essential or non-priority notifications. It is not necessary that you have to receive each and every message that is given to you instantaneously, especially when sleeping. And in fact, an hour before falling asleep, before going to bed, the digital and smartphone appliances need to be kept far away and preferably even switched off. You could even help your students set up a specific time of the day for use of digital devices. In the olden times, we used to have specific time of the day for TV program. When 24 hours TV started, there were a lot of alarm about what it would do to children. Many children got hooked to, Cartoon Network and spaces like that. So we need to develop some discipline as to when children can access these devices, even for recreational purposes, and not to access certain applications or devices at specific time periods during the day or on certain days of the week, thus developing a sort of a digital detox so that you are in control. Your digital devices and your apps are not controlling you. Importantly, as teachers, we need to start acquiring information to manage the mental health challenges, that is education. We need to learn to review a situation to reduce its emotional impact. For instance, critical comments on the phone, bullying on the phone, especially with groups of students, this is very common, that they will identify one person either because they look different or they behave differently or they are shy, they are isolated, and the whole group starts stalking or commenting negatively on that child. It's important for you as a teacher to recognize these activities and to to help your student develop resilience, so that even if in these negative situations, they are able to keep up their self-esteem, they are able to keep up their normal behavior and get on with their life. Review a situation to reduce its emotional impact, that is reframing. If somebody, if there is, let's say, a failure in the exam, very often the student will say, I am a useless person, I can't pass my exam, I don't deserve to live. They can reframe the situation to say, okay, failure is a stepping stone to success. Maybe this failure taught me something, so I can learn from that experience and do better next time. Using sensory techniques to stay connected to the present, which is called grounding. That look around you, become aware of the spaces around you, see something, smell something, touch something, hear, look, listen to something, so that you become aware of the spaces around you and the harmful internet behavior or the harmful internet messages have, they reduce the space that they occupy in your mind. And then, of course, techniques to reduce stress and promote a sense of calm and well-being, meditation, breathing techniques, or just lying down and, letting your mind wander to positive spaces. These are some of the relaxation techniques. People have told me that even regular physical exercise, going for a walk, going for a run, these are also, over a period of time, even these activities become meditative activities. In addition, we need to form groups, maybe help our students form groups, maybe mentor them ourselves to support well-being by using cyberspace as a positive means, not as a negative means. For instance, the internet gives us unparalleled access to knowledge. And because of the internet, the scientific community, especially the teacher community, so many other communities are exposed to ideas from all over the world. And that gives us unparalleled opportunities to collaborate. We can identify people who have a similar interest, or we can identify groups which have a similar interest and develop collaborations. Internet can help you develop new skills. Let's say, I know of children who have learned to play a musical instrument, or who have learned speaking techniques on the internet, who have learned new languages by subscribing or by accessing even the free internet videos. It can help us to foster creativity, self-expression, and out-of-the-box thinking by exposing us to new ideas. Perhaps we can start our own safe blog. There are many children, talented children, who have started their own blogs. They put up their poetry, they put up their articles on it, and they gather appreciation, and that's a wonderful way of self-expression. Internet also helps us to solve problems by accessing new information, by getting alternate opinions and options to reduce the burden, improve efficiency and efficacy, provided we know which spaces to look at. And these have to be verified spaces. These should not be scam spaces. These should not be criminal spaces. And as I said before, internet is a wonderful medium to explore areas that one is passionate about. Physically, as I also mentioned, how to be careful of your physical health while going on the net, we need to take care of ergonomics. So that is how to take care of our physical posture by taking care of our the physical way in which we access the internet. When you are accessing the net, pay attention to your posture. You would have noticed that I was sitting straight. I was not leaning back or coming to the front. I was able to look at the screen more or less at a similar level. We should not be sitting in the same posture or standing in the same posture for a long time, accessing our smartphones or our computer screens without taking a break. We should not slouch, bend forward so that our backs have a lot of stress and strain. And we should not hold the mobile device below the eye level. In fact, my screen is below my eye level, and that's not a very healthy thing to do. So we should sit upright, first of all. And when we are watching a computer or a television, again, sitting upright, not only at our hip level, but at our knee level, as well as our ankle level, at our elbows as well. They should not be hanging down or they should not be going up. They should be at right angles to your body, and they should be fairly near your body. Head and shoulders should be forward facing and balanced, neither going to the front nor to the back. Shoulders should be relaxed so that they don't ache at the end of the day, and arms should be touching the side of the body. What you could do is consciously check your posture and positions every 20 minutes or so, and make an effort to change that posture every now and then. After every 20 minutes of sitting, maybe stand for 5 to 8 minutes, move around for a couple of minutes. So for 20 minutes of sitting, you are changing your posture and putting strain on different muscles for 10 minutes, and alternate between sitting and standing positions to the extent possible. Don't keep gazing at the screen, but sometimes rest your eyes by gazing far away. So this is the proper posture while you are accessing your screens. Ideally, you should not either have to look down or look up. Your body and your head should be in a relaxed, straight position. Your elbows and your knees and your ankles as well as hips should be at a right angles. And at the same time, the wrists should also be straight. They should not have to move. Otherwise, you could develop wrist issues. And finally, the best thing would be keep changing your postures regularly. Maybe sit, stand, or access your phones at different angles. Now we go on to red flag signs of adverse psychological consequences, which perhaps you could see in the children around you and even in the people around you. Because people at extremes of age, both the elderly who are not as tech savvy and the children who are too much into technology, both can be at risk for internet issues. In spite of all our care, we can still be experiencing negative issues in cyberspace, and self-help may not be enough to handle such situation. So even in yourself, try to identify these issues as early as possible and seek help. There is no harm and there is no beizati in seeking help from the proper places. If you get people who are blaming themselves, I made a mistake, I shouldn't have done this, they are preoccupied, either they completely hide themselves from the net or they are on the net as if looking for the bad consequences of their behavior all the time. Or if the child sort of looks helpless or expresses ideas of helplessness, I can't do anything, this world is useless, we are just puppets in the hand of fate, those kind of helpless feelings, if people start expressing. Painful remembrances or recollections of the negative experiences, this is what happened and what a fool I was, what a mistake I made. Features of hyperarousal, chaukna, alertness, always, as I said, being on the net to find out if something negative has happened, or listening to the bell all the time, is the police coming, am I going to be punished, running away. We read about these things every day in the paper. We can also detect that there could be disturbances of sleep or appetite, not being able to focus on studies or co-curricular activities, even by children who were otherwise attentive beforehand. Sudden change in the behavior as compared to the usual. a chatterbox becomes very silent, or a silent child may start talking just to hide his anxiety, trying to avoid significant others, preference to stay alone, or getting irritable when asked to stop using the internet or mobile device. And even though they have had some negative experiences on the internet, they will still, as I said, keep checking, because they are afraid of what will happen because of their negative experience, or because of their behavior which put them into danger. Sometimes, and this is more alarming, you can have a persistent sad mood. The person will look sad, they will express sad ideas, they will become withdrawn, and this may persist continuously throughout the day. The parents may complain of it, the siblings, the friends may complain of it, the teacher may notice it throughout the school day, and this can go on for it. If it is 2 weeks, then it is diagnosable depression. If it is less than that, it still needs your attention and intervention. Sometimes it can be anxiety, which is incapacitating, and worse still, there can be ideas of harming themselves, that I am worthless, I have not been able to protect myself, I have put my parents into a bad place, I have shamed my school, so I should harm myself or even die. These are the worst consequences of internet addiction and inappropriate internet use. And we as adults must be aware of it, and we as adults must help our students to combat these feelings. So how can we get support from all these things? Most importantly, as I said at the beginning of my talk, every teacher should be a role model, at least for some students in their class. That teacher can be trusted by their students, and that the students can come and talk about their problems, or talk about even other classmates' problems with that teacher. And that way, there is a safety net. For instance, monitors in school can be roped in to become people whom the teachers trust to lead the students to safety and security, to be able to tell the teachers about problems that some of the students are developing. Schools as a whole, and you as participants in this cyber safety module can develop a safety net. Literally, this should be a network of people around the students whom they can access to share their feelings and challenges. There is only one counselor in school, and that is not enough. So it has to be maybe the class teacher, maybe some teachers who have been teaching the same class for 2 or 3 years at a time, so they are aware of the student's behavior, and they know which student is behaving out of character, and maybe actually have a net of teachers or students who can interact regularly to find out which student is in trouble, which student needs to be helped. Maybe look at their grades. Falling grades is a very reliable indicator of stress for the students. And whenever a student approaches you, listen in a non-judgmental way. Remember, we have all made mistakes on the internet. Some have made big mistakes, some have made small mistakes. So do not be judgmental, because the child who is coming ahead of you, even if he is in the 12th standard, even if they are ready to go out into the world, they are still children, they are still adolescents, do not have experience of the world. So listen to them in a non-judgmental way. How foolish have you been? Why did you do this thing? Anybody could have done it. So listen to them without belittling them, as well as belittling the problem. Because when they come to you, it has taken a lot of courage for them to come and seek help from their teachers. So therefore, you need to let them know that you are not going to disrespect them because they have come to you with a problem. Rather, you will listen to them in a respectful way and try to solve the problem. Be supportive, offer reassurance. This happens to everybody. Don't worry. We are here to help you. What can we do? Can we talk to the principal? Would you like us to do? What would you like us to do? How can we help you? These are some of the non-judgmental questions that you can ask, Of course, it's a child, so they cannot really tell you how they can help. But just by listening to them, they feel a feeling of reassurance that they are not alone in the world. And then once you have listened to their problem fully, understood them by reflecting questions, is this what happened? Have I understood you properly? How did it affect you? Do you have any idea who is doing it? Is it a group or a person? Have you kept those messages? Don't delete those messages. They can be evidence. So those kind of both tips as well as reassurances, then you can think of finding effective solutions to the problem they face, either alone or by consulting other people in the group, in the school, your principal, anybody else. But here I would like to have a word of caution. Don't immediately mention the name and the identity of the student till you are sure that this is a real problem, and preferably if you can inform the student beforehand that I'm going to share your problem with the counselor or with the principal or with their parents, and at least get there some kind of an affirmation, because otherwise they will feel betrayed that I told my secret to my teacher, and this teacher went and broadcast it all over the school, and it got back to other children. Because remember, many teachers have their own children in the same school. So if the child is identified, then it can have adverse consequences to you as well. If at all necessary, if you feel that this is going out of hand or this is a legal issue, and I'm sure that there are lots of lectures in this course itself which will tell you which are the legal issues and which are the social issues. So if there are legal issues, then you have to take legal recourse, which means retain the evidence and complain to the police. That is the first thing. In case of adverse psychological consequences, if they are severe or through your intervention they are not relieved, then don't hesitate to seek help from mental health professionals. The counselor may be the first step, but there are counseling psychologists, there are clinical psychologists, there are psychiatrists, there are hospitals. Do not feel that this is a sign of weakness to go to a counselor or a psychologist. Make sure that the parents understand, and always include the parents in all your intervention, because after all it is their child. You are teaching maybe 50 children, 100 children, 150 children, but for parents it's their only child, or is there one child amongst 2 or 3. So always include the parents, be sympathetic to them and supportive to them as well. Especially if you think there is a cyber crime or things are getting out of hand, do not delay the help seeking. Okay. First of all, as I've said, this is the, I think, third or fourth time. Do not delete these messages. Make sure that an expert save those messages in a safe way so that they can be used as evidence later on. Cyberbullying, cyber stalking, cyber grooming are crimes. They have to be reported. If there is a presence of significant anxiety or depression, in your opinion, because you see hundreds of children, so you can very well make out when a child is disturbed or upset. If you feel that the person is too upset and disturbed, they have become too different from their previous self, then, or if you feel that that child is not able to stop accessing the internet every now and then, do not hesitate to take a consultation. At least talk to the school counselor. Make sure that the parents know. If necessary, you might need to take legal recourse, because ultimately it is the teacher who may be blamed. So it is the teacher's duty to be the first responder. In conclusion, I would say there are multiple dimensions of psychological well-being as well as psychological harm in the context of cyber safety and security. There can be different types of adverse psychological consequences, and one should be prepared to prevent. Best is to prevent, if they have occurred, to be able to effectively handle these consequences. and be aware of the red flag signs of adverse psychological consequences. And within the school itself, through your knowledge of this training of trainers, create resources that students can seek to help and support. Maybe you can have a posters everywhere warning of the internet dangers. Maybe you can have student workshops led by other students, smart students, who can tell others about how to use the internet safely. And you can have any kind of creative ideas which will help your students to behave responsibly in cyberspace. I've already said this, develop strategies to improve well-being. So, okay, you stop using the net, or if you have already suffered harm, how do you get out of it? Educate yourself, acquire information to manage the mental health challenges that you may face in cyberspace. I talked about this reframing. Review a situation, even if it's an anxiety indicative situation. For instance, there's been a scam and you have lost some money. Fine. You can still learn from that situation. So that is a reframing. Grounding, by looking around you, becoming aware of your spaces, becoming aware of your senses, and thus becoming more connected to the present. So that whatever has happened in the past, one can learn from it, so that one does not commit mistakes in the future. And then learn how to relax. Even in the most difficult of circumstances, one should know how to reduce stress and promote a sense of calm and well-being. Maybe thinking of nice things that you like, maybe just breathing, maybe just, moving some fingers or hands or so on, so that you become engaged with something else and then feel relaxed. Most importantly, we need to build social support to strengthen our social connections and offer or seek. You can either offer assistance or you can even seek assistance, and there is no harm or there is no disrespect in either activity. One can seek assistance from friends, families, supports from work colleagues, from superiors, from bosses, even from the net, and learn how to solve problems. So it may feel when students come to you that this is intractable, nothing can be done about it. But there is no problem which does not have a solution. So you need to systematically identify, analyze, and find solutions either to challenges or to issues that your students face. Thank you, dear teachers. I'll stop sharing now. And if you have any questions, I'll be very happy to answer them. So there are lots and lots of messages in the chat, which I could not read.
Ma'am, everyone has also started giving a lot of questions, and it shows that there is a lot of interest among people to know. Even people were asking some questions later. So we have sufficient time to take a few questions for discussion.
Certainly.
So we can take up one or two questions like doing it. And I also wanted to appraise all of you that this is a session to initiate again. See, all the sessions on this 3 days is not incomplete in itself. Okay, you will be having much more, like we have already done 5 hours dedicated session on psychological aspect. So today, whatever is there will be an extended learning link which will be shared with all of you for your next 2 months follow-up work. So don't think that with this 3 days, I'll be closed. But we are not going to force everyone to continue for the level 2 because this is a level 1 training. Whoever is interested, who is progressing, will be taken for the level 2 training also. But for going to level 2, you have to be consistent in understanding who you should have concern, you should have interest. We don't want to force. Right now, I know many people are forced and deputed here. Some of you are just because you have been deputed, you're forcefully attending the training. So we don't want to force you again. First level is forceful to make you aware, minimum awareness. But second level, we wanted to give you a deep understanding because last year also people completed first level. Some 500 people are going to attend this year for the second level. We are going to give them a thorough understanding on cyber psychology, which is very important to every teacher. So we will take effort only for people who are interested. So whoever is interested should be with us continuously. When we share some links, you should consistently keep learning. We'll be giving it like not overload you, because you are not committed only for cyber safety. You have a lot more works in your schools, but keep some time, weekly 1 hour. If you can share half an hour, you can spend. That's how we will be giving the things. So for psychology session also, we will be giving certain additional web links where we have already taken a lot of sessions, which will help you to understand a little more. Okay. Yeah. We
So
should
these are
appoint one counselor in all school, but actually as per NEP, every single teacher is the first level counselor. So that is why this session is kept part of this. So you cannot say there is no counselor. So if student face problem, I cannot handle it, because you are the one who are in the school. So as per NEP, we are all first level counselors. Surely there is a need for a professional counseling to be given. Then you need to suggest them to the professional counselors. And most of you must be aware that there is a program called Manodarpan, where the government has established professional counselors links, where you can suggest the persons who are coming to you for first level counseling. You can always suggest them to meet the professional counselors through Manodarpan. That is very important to guide them towards to go to the professional counselors. So let me take up some questions so that ma'am can help us in understanding better.
In fact, can I request you, ma'am, Dr. Angel,
Yeah.
to actually retain all these chats, because they are wonderful. You know, both the adverse consequences of internet use as well as the replacement activities. Wonderful teachers. I really am very respectful of you. You know exactly
We are
what to do.
saving every chat, and we are also taking this questions consolidated, because there are so many questions we are not able to address during the session, but we don't want to leave the participants with unanswered questions.
Right.
So we are collecting all the questions which will be shared with the experts, so that if they can be responded, we will collate and share it.
Yes.
And whatever participation is happening, we are also consolidating. There is one dedicated person doing this throughout the session. We have put a
Wonderful. Because I see that these are very practical and very important suggestions. Teachers, please read them and bring them into practice whenever you go back to school. Because as we say, teachers know their students the best. You literally see hundreds of students, and the vast majority are normal. Vast majority are also vulnerable. So you need to educate yourselves first. We need to know how we ourselves should do, and share your pleasures. You have said that they should go for games. Do you play games yourself? Do you enjoy music yourself? When you do these things yourselves, the liking comes out, and as it is, somehow it is transmitted to the students. So try to do that yourself.
Yeah, sir, there is a question like, is there a particular toll-free number that can be shared, so that which can be shared further? There is a child helpline. There are multiple numbers. Ma'am, would you like to just give some input?
Yes, there are children's helplines. There are police helplines if at all you need helps. And then there is a telemanas coming up, which is a counseling session. So I imagine if you talk to them, they will be able to give you point you out to some local resources as well. At the same time, I would advise teachers that you try to form a parental group. I'm sure that every school would have parents who are concerned, who are educated, who can be professionals, and they can form a network who can advise the teachers about many of the health issues, especially the mental health experts. And as I said, online access through telemanas is always possible.
Ma'am, there is a question: how to identify a specific inappropriate behavior as an outcome of addiction to mobile?
I would actually ask the person, what exactly do you mean? Because the internet addiction itself is a very specific and very concerning behavior, very worrying behavior. So
Sir Shrikant
I'm
sir,
not exactly, maybe I have not understood the question.
ma'am, like for example, if somebody is addicted to mobile continuously seeing WhatsApp, we can just see a person always, even they will be looking straight, but their hands will be moving on the screen. So that is one main behavior we can see, because this is something which we see in many of our faculty even. In every meeting, they will be sitting and attending the meeting, but their fingers will be on the mobile, scrolling up. That's one behavior which also gives you that they
Yes.
are addicted to. So they're asking for such behavioral things which we can
No. So within school, of course, it may be a little bit more difficult to see, because within school, I imagine that students are not supposed to access their phones when they are in class or when they are in school. But if they, in spite of being in class, in spite of having the teachers, you know, looking at them, they still cannot help themselves, or they miss school. They simply stop coming, or when they come to school, they are dozing off because they've been on the net all night. You could also ask some of their friends or their groups, so they would be talking about their internet experiences all the time, or they would be not studiously avoiding talking about their internet experiences at all. Both can be indicative of internet addiction.
There is a question like sometimes the children we deal with misuse these technology tools and they are too stubborn to admit, like making a fake profile on social media, making close groups, especially students of grade 8, 9, how to deal with such students?
So the only way to deal with them is communication and education, in short. So once you have come to know that such a thing has happened, you must bring them to the attention of the school authorities, and B, you need to get them to the attention of the parents. As I said before, parents are the primary guardians of the children. So very often, if the child gets into trouble, the parents will blame the teacher and the teacher will blame the parents. So both have to be in it together. And authorities, of course, if it is, as I said, criminal behavior, authorities must know of it. And your primary authority is your principal.
Yeah. And
so that is you are the first responder, but the second responder has to be the school authority. And then between the two of you and perhaps the parent, you can decide what further steps to take.
There is a question to suggest more suggestions how to detox.
There are two major ways to detox from any habit, any severe addictive habit. One is to get off that habit, and the other is to have a replacement behavior. So that's why I was talking about mental wellness, techniques to reduce stress and techniques to improve your mental wellness. You yourselves, teachers, have given such excellent suggestions, playing outside, playing indoors, doing puzzles, interacting with friends, having a community, having some sort of social activity, doing exercises, doing yoga, doing meditation. These are the most common. Of course, each of these activities may appeal to one child. So you have to have a whole, menu, you can say, of activities which could be suitable to a child. Some children may like to paint. Some children may like to go into music. Again, music is so many different types. Some children may like to play. Some children may like to play indoors only. So as a teacher, you have access to so many different ways in which normal children cope. So you can give a variety, you can provide a selection of different types of activities to the child that you are talking to and ask them to choose.
Ma'am, there is also some kind of reflection. I think I would like to read it for all of them, which is very really important about what the user has also. As an educator, there are many times we feel that we have to orient others to become. But the first thing is we know that children actually model the teachers. So modeling is something which is a very strong thing that happens. So as an educator, we need to first be a model for them to practice good things with respect to
Absolutely.
cyberspace
Absolutely.
also. So that's
Absolutely.
one of the reflection which is very rightly pointed out. And also there are many things which is coming up because all are experienced teachers here. So they have given a lot of suggestions and reflections. Some of
They
them
are
also
beautiful. They are beautiful suggestions. That's why I was saying, please retain them. We will include them in our future
yes. So one
presentation.
person has said how he will identify like they are addicted is many times the person will be putting down the head and looking down, not facing the eye contact. So that is one of the ways the teacher could identify. And also there is one of the thing like one of the good practice which Telangana state has started doing and many other states are in the progress is that they are making cyber ambassadors class wise. So this is a program which we are starting this particular. So I just wanted to appraise all of you also. After level 2 training, the people who are completing level 2 will be endorsed as cyber ambassador by the Ministry of Home Affairs. Whoever is going to finish the level 2 training will be given endorsement as cyber ambassadors. So they will also be given more orientation of next year we are giving how to create cyber clubs in schools. Because one way is we as a teacher we cannot always tell everything to student to appraise them with many things we cannot identify because we don't always have context. So there is a peer group that could help to really bring out many things. So that is a suggestion that every school should have a cyber club and one cyber ambassador as a teacher and also students in every class. So that's a practice with Telangana has already started. There are many more states. They are actually starting this practice and hopefully by next academic year, we think all the schools will be having this in their school. So it is not that you need to wait for government to instruct us. As a teacher, you can initiate in your school as well.
There is also a very nice suggestion that at least small children and children in primary school, infants, definitely their mobile screen time must be restricted. I feel terrified when I see tiny children sitting in their pram and looking at their phones. Definitely, the parents have to be educated that screen time is not a right of every child. In fact, many leaders who are internet leaders, who are internet entrepreneurs, they do not allow their children any kind of screen time for the first 2 years of their life. So definitely, good habits begin from the beginning. So it is important that whenever you have PTA or something like that, you could have, special modules or special posters or special sessions to educate your children's parents about risky behavior on the net and how that can be prevented and how they can themselves, educate themselves to make sure that their children don't fall prey to internet dependence and internet hooking.
There is a message also like we should not send, school should not send notices through WhatsApp. So, but we cannot say that because today WhatsApp is an official communication many of them are using because all parents do not have email IDs to send mails. And there is no option for us to force every teacher, every parent to have a email ID. That's not a possible thing as per the legal norms. But almost all teachers by their parents by their interest have WhatsApp or Telegram. So we are sending notices. So but only thing is how we are sending the notices. So sometimes the schools send notices as a doc file, which is an open file which can be edited, again modified and do it. So there is a way to send notice there where we need to write disclaimers, where we need to add what will happen if somebody like meddle with that particular circulars. So there is lots of rules and regulation a school should make in terms of that and then communicate to the parents also how to handle this. Because there are a lot of wrong things happen when we use these technology, but there is a need to have a school policy that have to guide others. So that's it.
I think Madam Bhagyamma,
yeah,
can
yes,
I just say, Madam
yes.
Bhagyamma wanted to ask a question. Can you just put it in the chat box, please? So there are some very nice suggestions still coming up in the chat box.
Yeah.
Everything must be balanced way. Yes, I couldn't agree more. Everything has a place in our life, and everything has to have a place. So we cannot, give primacy to something or other. And that goes very much for the net.
Ma'am, you have to put the question in the chat box. For this session, we are not permitting to open the mics right now. Please put the question in the chat box. If you have an individual question, then personal question, then it's not a time to ask. So, because this is a group discussion time. Parents must be given awareness is one more thing which has come up. Very rightly said, ma'am was also insisting on that. But the question is, what kind of awareness will you give to parents?
The same kind of awareness that we are giving to you. See, we are assuming that you don't know anything about internet, psychological consequences of internet use. And I think we are wrong, because you know very well and you have given excellent suggestions. But please think that in our families, the vast number of fathers go out to work, right? They may be a little more aware of what is happening in the world. Many of our mothers are not aware of these internet dangers themselves. So, as aware people, it is our duty to educate parents as well in whatever way you can. Suppose, as I said, you're sending WhatsApp notices, fine. At the end of the notice, just put in something small about how you can protect your child against internet abuse. If every message from a teacher contains this kind of security message or cyber safety message, it is bound to get to the parent.
There is a suggestion that we should educate parents along with students.
Yes, if at all possible, definitely it should be done. Because as I said, you have to form a network with the parents for the welfare of the child. Both the teachers and the parents are responsible for the child in the school. So if the adults in the child's environment, the teachers, the educators, the counselors, the parents, they can all get together, then that is a great safety net for the child. So definitely, if you can, you must.
Ma'am, there is a question which actually this is a question that came up in the last open panel also. Is there an option to care and secure children with disabilities from cybercrime? So the answer which was given by an inclusive educator is there is nothing that disabled children alone have special concern. Every child has an equal concern, which we need to take it up. So it's not something very specific to disabled child is what the inclusive educator gave. Do you have any other observation?
No, definitely. No, I'm sorry to say that there are no special safeguards for children with disabilities, especially neurodevelopmental disabilities, who are much more, simple, who are much more vulnerable to all these scams. So they need, more education, more protection. Unfortunately, there is nothing at present, to my knowledge.
So Kerala team has shared that in the state of Kerala, they have created a parent awareness program called Amma Ariyan. Means the mother should know. The
Wonderful.
Knowledge for mothers, and they have already trained more than, if I have understood, 4 lakh mothers. So that's a great initiative, sir. If those kind of material must be, it is in Malayalam. If there is a way we can translate this and share it in, and if it is in English, it would be shared. Other states can also use it. So already we are calling for one consultative meeting with all the states to share whatever they have done so that other states can benefit out of it. It's a good practice. And there is one message which has come. Actually, there was a point which one of the participants have shared. In my class, most of the students, they are making reels in Instagram.
Yes, on Instagram.
I have given every week one activity. If they can draw painting, handicrafts, lot of change I have seen in the class. That's a great thing.
Oh, that is Ms. Bhagyamma. Yes, yeah. Great. Yeah, this is a wonderful thing. How to use technology in a constructive way. That is what we need to teach our children, that this is a technology, this is a tool. This is not an end in itself. It's a means to an end. So how can we use the internet to better our own lives and to make ourselves feel happier and more secure. So this is a wonderful way, and it also increases the creativity of the students. Great, madam. You've done a
And
great job.
one thing to add is, like, it's not that we need to make them stop making reels, because if you stop from this as a teacher, they will just hide from you and keep doing. So there is an alternative way. It's nothing, no, like there is one very nice point which one of the participant has brought up. Manojji has, sorry, I think like it's Manojji only from Kerala, has brought it a point that by creating awareness, we should not create fear in people. Right. So
it's unlikely, madam. It's unlikely because now internet has become such an important part of our life. Whether there is fear or not fear, people have to use it.
Yeah.
For each day-to-day activity, you have to use it almost. So having some respect for the technology, as opposed to fear of the technology, that has to be the fine line which we have to tread.
So we can't avoid children now of this century using technology. So we always need to find a positive way of using technology. So if people are making reels, there are reels that can be created for creating awareness itself. So to just give you, like, every year we conduct a competition to encourage children to create awareness in the name of e-Raksha. So in e-Raksha, one of the competition is to create reels to create awareness on cyber safety. We see wonderful reels coming out of children. So we need to find out the interest of children, even if they are into technology, if we can divert that by choosing titles. Maybe like they are not knowing what exactly the titles, they need to do it. There may be some stubborn student who don't want to take your idea, but there may be children who will be picking up your guidance as well. And asking them to create reels, create mobile apps, because we are seeing class 7 student has created a mobile app for the competition. So this year also e-Raksha will be again announced, because now the last thing is over and scrutiny is going to start. So when such competitions are being conducted by states, such competitions are being conducted by CDAC, such competitions are being conducted by Ministry of Home Affairs. The only thing is it's an extracurricular. You are diverting them from only thinking of accessing wrong contents, but you are also making that there is a desire to use technology that also has to be met. So in a right direction, that will also be met. So we encourage all of you to, because since now you are in a Telegram group, whenever the competition is released, we usually communicate to all of you. So you can encourage students to participate in that, one way of redirecting their interest towards technology to a right cause. That would be a good thing. Himanshi, can you put up the attendance form, so that we can take the next 10 minutes for filling the attendance? And I take this opportunity to thank Smita ma'am for sharing her time, and also creating a little first step awareness among the participants. And some of them have written it is a real eye-opener. For some of them, they are aware of it, but some of them, this is a good thing for ourselves. And I think like this discussion would have just put a seed in all of us. At least, like, no, if already we have these ideas in our mind, there must be at least one new point you would have got it today. So this will help you to grow in this area, to understand, and also know more about it. So attendance link is shared in the group. Kindly please finish your attendance. It's 12:55. We will be closing attendance by 1:05. So please do it so that we will be able to close up. Thank you, Smita ma'am.
Thank you so much. And thank you, teachers. You have educated me a lot. Thank you.
So there is lots of inputs we are getting from the teachers itself, right? So please hold on. Today you have a group activity where you are going to work out on psychological aspect only. In the last session, you are going to do something very interesting today. As a group, you will be working together and coming out with all your thoughts as to be going to come out together. So we are looking forward for that to do it in the last session. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah. Just few announcements. In the next 5 minutes, I'll close. There are still participants who have not registered yourself. If you are not registering yourself, it is difficult for us to take your certificate. For the certificate, the details as well. So we will be cross-checking, because we will be taking the registration as the final list who's participating in the program. If you have not registered, the last round, today is the last round, we will be putting, Himansi will be sharing all the 3 registration links in the Telegram group. And when we start the next session, we will be putting that in the WhatsApp group here also in the chat box. So if you are not registering by end of the day today, you will not be considered as a participant for this program. So please ensure that you will be finishing your registration link. Do not do second time registration. If you have done registration, do not do it. Number 1. Second, for every communication, you need to be in the Telegram chat group. So if you have not joined the Telegram group, kindly let us know, because yesterday, whoever has given your problem, we have resolved it. If you have not yet done, you please give it here so that we can do it. And there are certain things which we want you to follow as